So how can we be like Jesus in this? When you know someone who's grieving, when you want to help someone, maybe it's a loved one, maybe it's a friend, whatever it may be, a couple things I would say. First thing is recognize the level of relationship you have with them beforehand. If you were not their best friend beforehand, don't expect to be their best friend now. If you never talked to them beforehand, don't expect to be a great sense of help in their tragedy. They need the ones who know them and loved them beforehand. And there may be times where you may have to realize, I am not the person to step in right now. And that's okay, because it's not about you, it's about them. So first, recognize that. But then I would say this, give them permission to grieve. I've got this thing where whenever I do a funeral or I meet with somebody, it's okay, be okay. And they'll be like, no, it's fine, I should this, I should that. And it's, yeah, but it's really hard. And it still stinks. Give them permission to grieve. They need that. Give them permission to grieve. Recognize that they are going to have good days where everything is okay and they're getting through it and it's all right, we're dealing with it and all this. And then there's going to be days where they are a puddle on the floor and they can't do anything. And you know what? That's okay. And you just be with them. If they're having a good day, let them have a good day. Don't come up to them and be like, shouldn't you be grieving right now? Like, come on. Let them have a good day. At the same time, if they're broken and hurting, don't go up to them and be like, hey, shouldn't you move on? Because you're not helping. Give them permission to grieve. Allow them to struggle. That sounds really, really hard. But let them struggle through it. They're going to have to hit all those stages. They may hit them fast. They may hit them slow. It may take years to get through all the stages of grief. And you know what? That's okay. And for some, it might just be quicker. And that's okay too. Everyone is different. And I would also say this. Don't expect it to all suddenly be better. Like, if we're not careful, there's times where we can go and meet with someone who's grieving and then we see them the next day, everything's okay, and they're not okay, and we're like, come on, we had this conversation. Why aren't you over it? It's because they're still dealing with it. So go to them. Love on them. Let them set the pace for how fast they grieve. You are there as a support. Again, in all of the things that are going on, we all know people who are grieving. We all know people who are hurting. And many of us want to help, but we just don't know how. So in all of this, just be with them. Love them. Help them. And let them grieve like Jesus allowed his friends to grieve. But then I want to say this one last part, and I'm going to have the worship team come on back up. We're going to take time in worship. Paul writes this really incredible passage where he says, "Do not grieve as the world grieves. Grieve as people who have hope." See, as you're helping people deal with their grief, there's something that you have to hold on to. And you can't forget. And it's exactly what Jesus said to Martha. That even those who die, if they are in me, they still live. See, we have an incredible hope. And that hope doesn't go away, even in grief, even in pain, even in death. What we have to do is we have to make sure that first we hold that remembrance that Jesus is still in charge. And that because Jesus is still in charge, and because God is still on the throne, and because He still rules all of it, then we have hope. And so don't ever lose sight of the great hope that we have. Because even though we may die, yet shall we live. Amen? Let's take a moment. We're gonna worship today. And if you want to stand, feel free to stand. If you want to sit and process it and process, if you're here and you're grieving, take time to grieve. It's okay. But let's take a moment and sing a couple songs, both to God and to each other, to remind ourselves of just how great God is.